Richie, I think I'm falling in love with you.
Yeah, give me Hollycourt, 55377. Hello, it's Daddy. Hey, darling, put Mommy on the phone. Yeah, Barbara, it's Richie. Yeah, look I ain't never coming home no more. Take it easy. Yeah.
This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we might have gotten a release date for Gears 5. Could a new Bioshock be released in 2020? A Ghostbuster remaster has surfaced. Could Deep Silver be working on a new Saints Row? It's a possibility that the Avengers project could come out in 2020. All of these stories and so many more in episode 100 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and my goodness, I didn't think we was going to make it in, brother. 100 episodes. Man, what a milestone that is, brother. You only hit it once, so we're going to enjoy it this week. Now, you might have heard in the beginning of the podcast a very, very funny scene in the movie Harlem Nights. If you're not familiar, go and watch that, brother. It's hilarious. I loved it. But that one scene made me sit back and think, has a woman ever had you on the side of the bed making different kinds of life-changing decisions? If you remember, Richie was crying out of one eye. The brother was completely shattered and broken. I mean, sunshine, she put a workout on the brother. We ain't gonna get into too many details, but I was just curious to know, has that ever happened to you in your life? Oh my goodness. Anyway, as far as what I have been into this week, I have not done any gaming this week, so I don't really have anything to report on. I'll tell you this though, I do plan on getting Rage 2 because that just came out this week and I'm very excited. It's been getting solid scores, been getting a lot of 8s out there, really good game. Here it's a little short, but still people have been saying it's a great experience. So outside of that, man, I want to get into my favorite section of the podcast, and that is the feedback section. But before we fully dive into the feedback section, fellas, I just want to shout out really quickly Jeff Texas Taylor. He's over there in the Facebook group, the Analog Circle Facebook group. Go over there, check it out. I wanted to shout him out. And I also wanted to shout out Johnny the Truth Teller because he actually left me some feedback over on the YouTube channel. So I want to read his comment. Now, last week, I was asking you guys, do you think that Sony has just set the bar too high for their exclusives? So his response was, I just can't get into PlayStation games. They only have one kind of game over the shorter single player games. There's no variety to me. It's boring. I want to play multiplayer with true 4K graphics. PlayStation just can't do that. It's like they're stuck in 1995. Good grief, Johnny. Tell them how you really feel, brother. Man, I want to thank you for this. To me, that has been one area that PlayStation has struggled with, and that is the multiplayer. That's one thing that Microsoft has really put a big emphasis on, and they've been doing an extremely great job at that. I mean, they have Sea of Thieves out there, all of the Gears games, the Halo games, Forza games. That's one of their staples. So I can definitely understand, Johnny, that they don't quite have what you're looking for when it comes to the single player. A lot of people say they're one and done, and it's nothing and left. I beg to differ. I'm more of a single player focused guy. I love the story. I'm not really online. I don't really tend to really jump online like that. So for me, PlayStation is kind of where I'm hanging my hat at the moment. But nonetheless, Johnny, the truth, I want to thank you for writing in, brother, and please continue to do so. Now, let's go ahead from there and let's move into, let's see what we got here, man. I'm so unprofessional. Unprofessional productions, brother. Let me go ahead to my emails here. All right, here we go. I'm pulling them up right now. We're going to get into, let's see, who wrote in this week? Oh, man. Shout out to Mike J. Mike J dropped the salon this week. Let's go ahead and read his email. He says, hello, Kiaun. Yeah, what's going on, Mike J? He says, first and foremost, allow me to congratulate you on the upcoming milestone of 100 episodes. It's been a fun time so far. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. He says, so keep up the great work. As for the show question, I think it's a bit more complicated than the original question. Sony and its studios may have set the bar high for PlayStation 4 exclusives, but remember, they have not all been winners. A game can be hyped to death, which can make it feel more of a letdown when it doesn't perform. I think part of the blame goes to the gamers and games media who expect nothing but the very best from the exclusives and are immediately put off by a game which may have some problems but is overall a good game. Just not perfect. And this goes for gamers on all consoles, though it stings a bit more when you don't get many exclusives and the ones you get never score a perfect 10. Anyway, just wanted to send a quick answer. Once again, congrats on hitting 100 episodes, and we look forward to the next 100. Mike J, brother, you always make me feel great, man. Shout out to you, brother, for sending this email in. And I gotta say, I think you make a really good point. I cannot disagree with that. Sometimes the onus can be on the game player that is hyping something up so far in the atmosphere that once it releases, it can never live up to those expectations. I guess maybe that's why Valve hasn't made Half-Life 3 yet, because it's been allegedly in the works for forever. They've scrapped it, brought it back, scrapped it, brought it back, scrapped it again, because they're possibly thinking to themselves, how the world can we ever reach that same peak that we were at? So, I guess that's a very good point. Sometimes we definitely blow things out of proportion and make things seem bigger than what they really are going to end up being. And because of that, it ends up being a letdown, but the game doesn't necessarily have to be a bad game. It just didn't live up to the expectations that so many people hyped it up to be. And that can be unfortunate, because that's really not on the developer to have, to set the expectations. Most of the time that's set by the person themselves. So yeah, that definitely happens, man. I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Mike J. But thank you for absolutely writing in. This has been fantastic to hear from you, brother, and you keep on doing it, man. Now, last but absolutely not least, this brother right here, y'all know him. This guy's just regular on the show. So shout out to Mr. Cody Clark. I have to read this brother's email. Now, the name of his email is called Exclusivity Exclusives. You and these titles, brother. He says, games. If you swing that way, Sony it is said, has the best exclusives, but at what cost? Can you go too far? Depends. Define exclusive. First party, only system, timed, shared with PC. There does seem to be a catch of some kind. There are some really bad and really odd Japanese games that you can only get on the PlayStation 4. In a bigger world, Nintendo has some of the most expansive and best exclusives of any company, and they seem to be doing pretty well. Their games define their system. So I guess if Sony was to follow them, then they have quite a way to go. Oh, come on, Cody. Come on, brother. Oh, man. He continues to say, in parentheses, Last Guardian was a bit of a letdown. LOL. I give you that, brother. That game controlled horribly. But let me continue with your email, brother. He says, I also have issues with Dad of War. Oh, the disrespect, Cody. Oh, my gosh. It doesn't look or feel like the OG God of War to me at all. It seems like another dad simulator with Kratos stuffed in there. But meanwhile, Spider-Man looks good. Spider-Man 2 on the OG Xbox was such an amazing game for its time. Oh, my nostalgia heartstrings. He says, he continues to say, I think really all Sony can do is hold their games up to a high standard. Let's be real. Lots of games which come out are trash. Lots of garbage on Steam on the old Xbox Live Arcade. And I'm sure in a few years, Epic will have to flush the e-toilet as well. As long as they have pride in their games and call out the stinkers on their side, I think they will be okay. Cody Clark, goodness gracious, this is loaded, brother. You came cocked and loaded this week. Man, first off, brother, I got to say, man, I understand everybody has their preference, brother. I get it. But I'm going to tell you, just to kind of dive into your email, brother, man, God of War was amazing, man. It was absolutely fantastic. I love that game. I say that it was the best game of the generation. Now, you might not feel the same, and I fully respect that, Cody. And then you also brought up something. Let me see. It's right here that Nintendo, their exclusives definitely define their system. You know, if you're going to get a Nintendo system, you're going to get Mario, you're going to get Metroid, you're going to get Donkey Kong, you're possibly going to get a Toadstool spinoff, Smash Brothers. So yeah, they definitely have their DNA in their games linked with their console. But I tell you, Cody, man, let me see what else is in here, brother, because you're giving me a lot to decipher this week. Let's see. Spider-Man. Spider-Man was great. It was fantastic. It was a really good game. But yeah, overall, I mean, you're right. It can get a little convoluted at times, seeing as, what they have to offer. But, yeah, I just think, man, just this generation, I don't want to harp on this too much longer, Cody, but this generation, man, it just seems like Microsoft has just had a lack of focus on their first party exclusives. Like I've said, they've just tried to, they're trying to be in too many different pots at one time, and they haven't really mastered one thing yet. So that's my main gripe with them this generation. But Cody, brother, I want to truly thank you for this email. And please, by all means, brother, keep them coming. So with that being said, guys, God dog it. Oh, man, let me get this up here. I want to jump into the gaming news this week that went down, man. Now, really quickly, I got to say, we saw a little bit of State of Play this week. Man, it was, about 2 minutes long? Nah, they said it was about 10 minutes, but nonetheless, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of people were down on State of Play last week. Me, myself, man, I thought it was a pretty good show. I didn't think it was bad at all. I thought they had some interesting titles. I mean, they had the Predator game that's coming out. But to me, the one game that saved it and really stopped it from just being just a totally bad experience, well, I'm not even going to say bad, just a average experience, was the Final Fantasy VII trailer that they showed, the remaster. And, man, that game still looks really good. I have a couple of questions, though, from Square Enix. You know, I would like to know, is this game going to be episodic? Because right now, everybody seems to think that it's going to come out in different parts. And they're going to charge $60 per episode. Now, I don't know if the episodes are going to be 20 hours, 30 hours. I mean, this is an RPG, so it should be a pretty lengthy game nonetheless. But outside of that, I don't know. I'm not very hyped about it. I mean, I was a huge Final Fantasy VII fan back on the original PlayStation, but I'm not the RPG guy that I used to be. And it looks like they're actually going to be using some of the same mechanics or the fighting system as Final Fantasy 15. If that's the case, I can really rock with that. You know, real-time controls and not turn-based, that would be fantastic for me. But outside of that, I don't know, brothers. I don't know. But State of Play, to me, it wasn't bad. I thought it was straight to the point, which is what I really appreciate and respect about that show. Also, you know, since we're talking about Sony, almost forgot, man. I would definitely recommend, matter of fact, hey, Cody, I know you're not going to play the game, brother. I know it's not your cup of tea, but I would recommend, not just to you, but to everybody listening, to watch the God of War documentary. I always say it wrong. I'm going to just call it a doc. The God of War doc. Because it really went into a lot of different details about the actors, some of the stress that the team was under to perform. It went into, you know, how they came up with Atreus. I mean, so many different aspects of the development of that amazing game. You should definitely check it out. It gives you a really, really good peek behind the curtain. And I thought it was fantastic. It's just short of 2 hours long, so it's movie length, you know, to be honest with you. But I never felt like it was boring or it had a lot of shortcomings that made me say, oh my gosh, I wish this would just hurry up and be over. No, it was good though. But check it out, man. Yeah, that's about all I got to say. But outside of that, let's go ahead, man, and let's start the show off with some scale-bound news. And no, the game has not resurfaced or anything, but Platinum Games studio head, his name is, I always get people's names so jacked up, as Binary Gray about that. Atsushi Anabu, I think I said that correctly. He did come out to discuss what happened with the project. Now, we said to IGN in an interview, and I quote, he says, I think there are areas where we could have done better because nobody wants a game to be canceled. He continued and said, we obviously can't go into details about it because there are rules of engagement as a developer. We want to make sure that the publisher who gave us a chance to make a game in the first place isn't treated poorly. End of quote. Now, he says, well, no, I ain't done with the quote. He says, the truth is we don't like to see Microsoft take the brunt of the fan ire because game development is hard and both sides learned lessons for sure. That's the end of the quote. So right here we see that, man, at one time, good grief, I thought Microsoft and Platinum Games were beefing on a whole nother level where they had, what was it, on Twitter? He had blocked Phil Spencer, the lead guy over there. They were upset and mad. But I couldn't blame Microsoft for pulling the project because it seemed like during that time period, Platinum Games had finished like 4 or 5 different other projects before they even had Scalebound up and running correctly. So I could definitely see why Phil said, you know what, the heck with it. We're scrapping it. That's the end of that. Let's just move on. But I just find it interesting that they finally came out and said that, hey, it was on both sides. It wasn't just Microsoft. It wasn't us. We both had a part in this situation becoming what it became. So I don't know if this means that Platinum Games and Microsoft will be working together in the future. I guess only time will tell, and E3 is literally less than a month away. Moving on. Now let's talk about Deep Silver. Now they sent a tweet out the other day that says, and I quote, "Subscribe to the official Saints Row YouTube channel so you don't miss a thing. We have exciting things ahead for the Saints. You don't want to miss out. Get notified on announcements, new trailers, and great content." End of quote. So could this mean possibly, I mean just a little pinch of salt of a possibility, that there could be another Saints Row game in the works? We already know that the Nintendo Switch just got Saints Row the Third. Of course, that game is many years old now. That was released back in the 360 era. But could that mean that they're testing the waters to see if people want Saints Row? Another one. Because I tell you, I was not high on Saints Row 1. I thought it was a cheap GTA knockoff. Saints Row 2, I was not a fan. I thought they were still chasing after the Grand Theft Auto Dragon. But when Saints Row 3 was released, oh my goodness, brothers. That was a moment for me. It was like a parody of Grand Theft Auto. It was just fantastic. It didn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it had a decent story. It was funny. Gameplay was great. I mean, good grief, some of the weapons that you could use, everybody knows about the purple. Well, I'm not going to say it here, but y'all know what kind of bad it was. When I saw that, I said, this game is too zany for me. And it was great. I loved it. And after that, I become a Saints Row fan. And that goes back to something else I said, where Microsoft, and I know y'all probably said, oh my goodness, here he goes with the Microsoft slander. It's not slander. I'm just saying that Saints Row, it wasn't where it needed to be with the first two. But the third one, it got it right, and it did very well. So much to the point where the game, it really got excellent scores, like 8s, 8.5s. Don't know if it got any 9s or not, but it was a high scoring game. So they took the time, they refined it again, and they finally found their lane. So I really hope that this is true. I would love to see a Saints Row 5. I think that would be fantastic. Now let's move into some quick news. Now it has been allegedly leaked that the Witcher Netflix series will release the first episode on December 20th. Now this isn't confirmed, so like I say all the time, take this with a mustard seed of truth. But this would be great. I think Netflix has had several gaming series. I think what they have, Castlevania. Nah, not several. I know they had Castlevania up there at the anime. The anime was great from what I heard from people. I thought they did a pretty good job. I've never seen it myself, like a full episode, but I've seen the previews and it looks fantastic. Looks really good. So this Witcher 3, well, not Witcher 3, but the Witcher series, we know that this has been in the talks for a while. So it would be great to see this come to Netflix, and maybe that could possibly scratch the itch that people will be missing when Game of Thrones is over. We'll see. But moving into some more quick Nintendo news now, Donkey Kong Jr., Clue Land, and Versus Excite Bike will be coming to the Nintendo Switch online membership this month. Now, I will say this, Versus Excite Bike does support multiplayer, and you can create up to 4 custom tracks to race on. You know what? Speaking of that, that's a great segue. Oh, man. Hold on. Let me get this out, brothers. Here we go. All right. Now, it's a giveaway this week, man. I would have forgot straight up and down, but I have here, what is this? This is a online Nintendo Switch card for a 12-month membership. So anybody out there that wants a Nintendo Switch membership to the online service, here we go. Here's the number. The number is as follows. Get your doggone pens and paper out. All right. It says, code is B12KIAUN. QF6 TB4 6NK04LT. Once again, that is B12 QF6T BF6NK04LT. Get that, enjoy yourself, have fun, man, have fun. Once you get it, do me a favor, just email the show. The email is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know that you got it, because if you don't, I'm going to continue to read this code off every week, and people are going to be like, man, this code is already used. So please do me a favor, write in, let me know you got it. Let's move on into the next story. Now, Microsoft Studios. Let's just get into some news about them. Now, we know that Microsoft has been stacking up talent for their Initiative Studio, already getting people who have worked on God of War, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Sunset Overdrive, and even Red Dead Redemption. Well, this trend is continuing because they have just picked up Robert Ryan. Now, if you're not familiar with him, he was a Naughty Dog developer who has worked on Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4, and The Last of Us 1 and 2. Oh, shucks. Now, he even spent some time over at EA's Motive Studio before landing at the Initiative Studio. Now, I got to say, God dog, they have been getting so much talent over there at the Initiative. I mean, good grief, all of these games that are over there, that people have worked on over there, have been AAA games. I mean, good grief, Red Dead Redemption? Now, I know some people might say Overdrive, Sunset Overdrive. I don't know, Kay. I don't know if that's, the greatest game, but hey, man, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. But there's no denying Uncharted 2. Uncharted 3, 4, and The Last of Us. I mean, good gosh, these are big games. So with this guy coming over there, I have high hopes that the Initiative will deliver. Now, when they will deliver their first game, nobody knows. They're still hiring talent. They are probably still in the pre-alpha phase of getting something together. But nonetheless, I think this is great to hear, because this shows that Microsoft is really getting the talent that they need to turn out those AAA games when the time is right. Let's go ahead and move into, now, this is some unfortunate news. Now, it looks like Starbreeze Studios, the team behind Payday, could be shutting down before the end of the year. Here is the quote from the temporary CEO. His name is Michael Nurmark. He says the company currently lacks sufficient secured funds to guarantee continued operations for the next 12 months and is expected to have a liquidity shortfall before mid-year 2019. If no additional funds are provided, these conditions indicate that there are significant uncertainties that can lead to significant doubts about the company's ability to continue its business. End of quote. Now, currently Starbreeze has 580 employees. So if they go under, this would be a huge blow to a lot of people. Man, this is the part of the industry that is sad. It's very unfortunate when people's jobs are on the line. That's one of those hardships of being a developer, because we've seen so many different development studios just fall by the wayside because they're, not necessarily unable to keep up, but maybe they're just making games that don't resonate with a lot of people. I think that Starbreeze is known for the Payday series, and that is, the franchise, Payday franchise. And I believe that's an online game where you're robbing banks and, you need to be co-op with your friends. I played the game. It really wasn't my type of game, to be completely truthful with you guys. It wasn't something I was feeling. So if Starbreeze is constantly working on these Payday games and they're not really catching fire like they need them to, hey, if y'all do get some income in there, try to switch the formula up, make a game that more people can relate to and want to play, and hopefully that can get them out of the hole. But nonetheless, this is sad news, but I hope that things work out for everybody over there. Man, it's Starbreeze. Moving on though from there, let's get into some Take-Two news. Now, in an earnings call shared with investors, they went over titles that will release in the fiscal year, which will be from April 2019 to March 2020. Now, they mentioned several titles, including The Outer Worlds, Borderlands 3, Ancestors, Humankind, Odyssey, etc. So now this is where it gets interesting, because on top of that, they also said that they also have some unannounced games releasing during the same time period. So that got Bioshock fans, including myself, of course, excited, because could we possibly get a reveal of this game at this year's E3? Now, to add just a little more possibility to this happening, I got to shout out Kotaku, because a while back they did reveal that 2K formed a quote-unquote top secret studio to make a new Bioshock. Now, as always, like I say, take this with a mustard seed of truth, but that would be incredible. The games that they were going over in this investors call, these are all games that we're familiar with. We've already heard about The Outer Worlds way earlier in the year. We know that Borderlands 3 is on the way. I mean, they just had a gameplay reveal, last week sometime? Odyssey, as well as Ancestors. These are all games that we know are coming down the pipe. But since we're so close to E3, it would make nothing but the best sense to get fans hyped to hold something like Bioshock 4 close to the chest and just have it be unveiled on the E3 stage, possibly even on Microsoft is going to be the only one there, so have it be revealed on their stage. That would be amazing, because Microsoft, they had Bioshock first. They had it exclusive. So how great? I don't know. I'm getting hyped up over possibilities. This might not ever happen, but imagine they come out there. Who is it? I think it was Binary Gray. He said that's what he would love. He would love to see a Bioshock 4. That would make E3 great for him. How amazing would it be to have Microsoft get up there, show this game, and say that it is an exclusive. Finally, an exclusive. AAA exclusive that will be on their platform. I don't know if that's going to happen. We know Phil Spencer's stance on that. He wants to have everybody play everything and have a we are the world mentality and whatnot. Doesn't seem like this is something he would do, but who knows? So we'll have to wait. Maybe something will be revealed at E3, and we just might be getting Bioshock 4. How incredible would that be? Now, on a side note, I almost was about to move on to the next situation here, but I gotta let you guys know that Red Dead Redemption 2, they actually went over the numbers of how many copies this game has sold so far, and right now, Red Dead Redemption 2 sits at 24 million copies. God dog, that is insane. That is from, when did Red Dead come out? In October? I think it was October, so November, December, January, February, March, April. So 6 months. This game has sold 24 million copies. That is insane. I mean, they are not losing over there at 2K. Well, not 2K, but Take-Two. So congratulations to Rockstar. That is a huge number. Now, let's keep on this earnings call theme, because Square Enix did the same, where they said to investors that they are planning on releasing multiple new titles in their fiscal year, which is the same, April 2019 to March 2020. So, of course, People are hoping, they are hoping that this means that Crystal Dynamics' upcoming Avengers project will be in that same time slot somewhere. Now, it's worth noting that they have several projects under the to-be-announced release dates, and Avengers does fall under that umbrella. But outside of that, one game under the, to-be-announced umbrella is a now this got me hype. Oh my goodness, I was salivating at the mouth when I heard this. Now, they have a quote-unquote AAA shooter from the developers of Bulletstorm that they are working on, and it's going to be I believe it's going to be People Can Fly Studios. Now, if you don't know about People Can Fly, brothers, oh my gosh, they were the guys behind Bulletstorm. That game, I have been hoping for a sequel for a long time. And now, I don't know if Gearbox owns the IP. I don't know, because they just did the Bulletstorm remaster about a year or two ago. But it would be great. Nonetheless, even if it's not Bulletstorm, having People Can Fly Studios working on this AAA shooter, I'm sure they're going to take some elements from Bulletstorm and put it into this game. It would be awesome if it is a Bulletstorm sequel, but if not, nonetheless, I'm still excited because as People Can Fly, I'm a huge fan of them, and I am so hopeful that this will be a sequel. Hey, man, let me dream, brothers. Shout out to Danny. Let me dream. Now, let's move on into some quick Gears 5 news. Now, according to a Spanish outlet called Generation Xbox, which is a Taiwanese rating board, they have Gears 5 releasing. Now, this is way earlier, if this is to be believed. This is way earlier than I was ever anticipating Gears coming out. They are saying that the game is going to be out September 10th. And on top of that, they even have box art. Now, we know that we live in a time where, Photoshop can do anything. It can do everything and anything. And this could be a mock-up. You never know if this is really the real artwork for the cover. But it looks pretty legit to me. But then again, sometimes, brothers and sisters, I'm easily fooled, man. But, nonetheless, September 10th being the day that this comes out, and I believe that falls on a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. If it doesn't fall on a Tuesday, I apologize. But that would set it up to really be that looks real. That looks legit, because Tuesday usually are when games release, Tuesdays and Fridays. And, man, I tell you, I thought Gears 5 was releasing every bit of November, like mid to late November. So if this is the case, oh, my gosh, we are on the cusp. We are getting very close to actually getting our hands on this game. And I have no doubts that this game is going to be fantastic. They're taking risks. They're doing things that they've never done before. Rod Ferguson has said this. He said that they had to prove themselves with the first one. And with this one, they're really going to put their own spin and their own thoughts into it. So I'm very excited to see what Rod Ferguson and the team comes up with this new Gears 5. It's going to be fantastic. It looks great already. It's going to be 4K. They're talking about 60 frames per second. Oh, my gosh. It's going to be a wonderful time. Let's move on into the next story nonetheless, though. Now, there is a new rating that is surfaced for Ghostbusters, the video game remastered, that's coming to Xbox One at some point. Now, this information comes from a Taiwan Digital Game Rating Committee. Now, I'm sure that if this is true, once again, it's not 100% confirmed. Nobody knows for sure. But if this is true, I'm sure it's the game that released back on the 360, which people actually, this kind of came out of left field, though. Like, man, who was really looking for a Ghostbusters game? I don't even know. But nonetheless, this is very interesting news. I heard that game actually was pretty good. Matter of fact, thinking about it, I played that game. I had a demo of it. And I don't know why I didn't buy it. It was actually, I think it was because I was broke at the time. Brother, hey man, funds was tight. Couple years ago, oh brothers. Oh man, I had hardly had 2 nickels to rub together. So I'm sure that's why I didn't pick it up. I was doing priority only gaming. I had to get stuff that was AAA or better most of the time, or used. So I don't know what it was about Ghostbusters, why I didn't get it. It was a decent game though. It played pretty good. I liked the proton packs. I liked the premise of it. You were a rookie Ghostbuster trying to get on with the team permanently. So, I mean, this would be cool. I would actually probably pick this up just to, be able to experience it and hopefully have a good time with it. But nonetheless, man, let's go ahead and move on. This is very interesting. Now, in more Microsoft Studios news, NXL Entertainment founder Brian Fargo, Fargo, he had this to say over Twitter, and I quote, "Thanks to Microsoft, we've been adding incredible talent to NXL over these last few months. I'm seeing quality increase by leaps and bounds. The future is awesome." End of quote. Now, NXL, this is another studio that Microsoft has obtained to put in their roster. And I'm going to tell you, I have really hardly any idea what NXL has worked on. I think people said that they worked on Wastelands, I believe, something like that. They have like this isometric gaming style that they particularly like to use. But, nonetheless, let's not get into all of those details. This is fantastic because this shows that Microsoft, and this is all I'm asking for from Microsoft. All I'm asking is that you continue to just bring out AAA games. Give us different franchises. That's all I want. I'm tired of Gears, Halo, and Forza. We need more, and we've had a few more. I'm not saying we haven't, but those are always the staples. I want to get some more franchises in there that become staples. So with them making these moves, giving these teams the talent that they need. I mean, this guy, Brian said that the quality has increased by leaps and bounds. So the future looks bright for Microsoft. I'm hoping that they get it together next generation. I want them to come out swinging and do an amazing job. I have high hopes for this year's E3 with them. And I just really hope that they can just show me something just to re-energize me over the Xbox brand. Now let's move on from there into some PlayStation 4 news. Now, Monster Hunter World, this is going to be a quick story. It's not a lot to this. It is free to play until May 20th. And if you buy the game, all progress will carry over. So if you're wondering about Monster Hunter, you want to check it out, this is the chance. It's free. Go ahead and play it. Shout out to Goose, too. Shout out to my man, Goose. Man, if you're listening, brother, this brother was so kind. He actually bought me Monster Hunter. That was the first time anybody has bought me a game, man. So shout out to Goose. I will forever be grateful to you for that, man. Shout out to you, brother. But let's move on to the next story. This is another quick news story. Now, Dragon's Lair. Oh, man. Dragon's Lair 1, Dragon's Lair 2, Time Warp, and Space Ace are coming to Xbox One and PC on May 17th, 2019. Now, it's not going to be a physical release, but you will be able to download them digitally. I gotta say, man, I will never forget, brothers and sisters, man. I can't forget. I was about 10 or 11 years old. Oh my gosh. Man, we were up at Six Flags. Six Flags here in Maryland, the outskirts of Maryland, down there in Virginia. It was Six Flags, and I remember my aunt took me there, and I remember going to the arcade. Oh my gosh. Walked into the arcade and I saw Dragon's Lair. What the world is going on? Is what I said in my mind. Because when I looked at it, I'm like, this is a cartoon. cartoon. I feel like I'm watching a Saturday morning cartoon. This is unreal. Now, back then, to play Dragon's Lair, it cost 50 cents, brother. I couldn't get 2 quarters. So what I did was I just sat there and I waited. I said, during the rides, I want to just see somebody play this game. So I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited for somebody to come up and finally play the game. Now, to me, I had to be, like I said, 10 or 11 at the time. I finally saw somebody play the game. And I mean, they got out in record time, brother. I'm like, man, what the world? I'm like, well, what's this flashing light, going on the right side? And guy kept dying. He was like, man, forget this game. I didn't understand where the frustration came from until I found out that you weren't really controlling the character. That was the original QTE game. That was the absolute original. Don Bluth, I think his name was, behind that game. If you think about, how many games have QTE moments in them, thank your lucky stars for Dragon's Lair, because that was the original game that pioneered Shenmue, that pioneered God of War, and however many others have used that technique. But I thought that at the time that was just the most amazing thing I had ever seen, and it just gave me such high hopes of what gaming could actually turn out to be, and here we are today. But anyway, moving on from there, I ran it on that a little too long, but and more Nintendo news. Now, if you didn't know this, there is actually gonna be a Nintendo Direct. Actually, is today let me check something. Hold on. Make sure I got it's actually today. Today. So, May 15th, it's going to be today, and it's going to take about 15 minutes. It's not going to be long. I guess they're taking a page out of Sony's book. We're going to make this quick and painless. But yeah, about 15 minutes. But the cool thing about it is that this is going to actually concentrate on Super Mario Maker 2. So if you are interested in that game, really trying to figure out what you'll be able to do, hopefully this Direct will go into more detail and let you know whether or not this game is going to be for you. So I actually like these kind of create your own stage games. I think it started for me. Well, I mean, if you want to take it way, way back, I mean, it wasn't nearly as intricate as a Little Big Planet or something like that, but Excitebike, back on the Nintendo, what was it, the Nintendo? Matter of fact, man, I'm just thinking about the thing that I just read earlier today. But I know that you could do some kind of tracks, custom tracks back then with it. But it always gave me a sense of really seeing what developers go through. Because, like I said, man, Little Big Planet, good grief, you want to talk about a game that was very difficult to come up with ideas and concepts and, maybe I'm just not that creative. I don't know. But it gave me a whole new respect for what developers actually have to go through as far as trying to make a stage accessible or making it hard or making it possible to actually beat the stage without making it, something that is not fun. I mean, there's so many balancing acts that you have to go through to make a game so much fun, so I don't know. I'm just talking, but let's move on from there though. Now, I found this interesting. This is very interesting. Now, for PlayStation players, I have some news. If you have seen like Sea of Thieves and thought, that might look pretty, it looks pretty cool, but I don't want to buy an Xbox for it. Then, developer, Servios, I think that's their name. Servius, the team behind Creed Rise to Glory, may have you covered. Now, the first thing is the game is a VR game. And the name of the game is Battle Wake. Now, the game, I gotta tell you, this game looks like it will be solely ship-based. But wait a minute, forget that. I wrote this stuff down. We'll just do this off the cuff. This game looks just like Sea of Thieves, brother. I mean, they took the art style. They took gameplay elements. The only thing about this game that I think will make it a little different from Sea of Thieves, whether good or bad, is it seems like it's going to just be completely ship-based combat. So I don't think you're going to be able to get out, onto the island and, explore or do anything like that. But I'm talking about, man, everything from how you steer the ship. The look. Just go on to YouTube, because that's where I saw it at, actually. Go over to YouTube and type in Battle Wake and tell me that it does not look like a Sea of Thieves. I'm not going to call it a ripoff. I'm not going to say that. But you could definitely tell it was inspired by Sea of Thieves. But the cool thing about this also is that while you're doing your battles and you're doing, you're engaging, in the ship battles, you're going to have 4 different modes that you'll be able to choose from. You'll be able to choose from PvE. It'll be co-op multiplayer. It's this thing called Gauntlets and PvP. Now, what was I saying? Oh yeah, when you're in the ship combat, that's what I meant to say. You'll be able to actually summon a kraken to just tear your opponent's ship from limb. It looks so interesting, and for it to be in VR, I'm sure that's just going to bring a whole nother level to the game. Now, if you were wondering when this game is going to be released, it's going to be released in the summer, allegedly. So definitely PlayStation VR owners, be on the lookout for this. It looks really interesting, man. I can't say whether or not it would be a game that I would be interested in, but man, I'm hiccuping and everything. Excuse me, brothers. But nonetheless, it looks very interesting. Looks like something that could be very, very cool. Now let's move into the final news story. Now it looks like The Last of Us 2, it can't stay out the limelight, brothers. It's just stuck in the light. Now, Last of Us 2 is in the final stages of development. Now, here is the tweet from co-director Anthony Newman, and I quote, "Lot of awesome positions open to help us close out this game. I essentially want to highlight the melee animator position. I guarantee you will be working on some dope animations working with my good friends." End of quote. So, with that being said, people are starting to think that it's 2 different sides of the fence on this argument. People on 2 different sides. Some people are saying, well, hey, this definitely means that the game is coming out in 2019 because they are finally finishing up. They're just putting the finishing touches on the game, and boom, it's going to be out in 2019. Others feel like, man, this might be 2020 because we don't know how many loose ends they have to actually tie up to get the game running. We know that the mocap filming just wrapped up a few weeks ago. That's done. So now people are just saying, hey, this could be a situation where because they're hiring for a lot of positions. If you look on his Twitter, it's a lot of different things they're hiring for. So, with that many hires, to me even, that says this might slip into 2020. It's possible. But nonetheless, man, I don't want to harp on it. That is the end of the gaming news this week. Man, stay tuned because after this, we're going to have video game theater and we're going to get into the final section of the podcast. Stay tuned, guys.
Oh, goodness me, what a dream. Gosh, what a glorious day.
Brought to you by Friendly Fryer, the only choice in home cookware.
Morning, dear. I made your favorite breakfast. Oh, Mr. King from across the street is going out of town for a few weeks. He was wondering if you could check his mail for him. Oh, and your friend Pierce called. I'm sure he has some crazy new get-rich scheme. Oh, that Pierce. Such a card. And someone named Dex stopped by earlier. I didn't recognize him, so I just sent him away. I think I heard Timmy deliver the paper earlier. Could you fetch it, dear?
Sure thing, dear.
Hi, diddly-eye, neighbor.
Ooh, I wonder what's going on in the world today.
And welcome back. Welcome back. We're in the final section of the podcast, and this week's question is, what format do you prefer? State of Play or Inside Xbox? I would love to know your opinions. Now, for me, I want to put this on the table and make this crystal clear. When it comes to E3, I want you to have a show. I want it to have a lot of substance. I want you to go over your plans of what direction you're going in. Now, when it comes to Inside Xbox or State of Play, as it were, I just want to know what games are coming out. Just give me the information as quick as possible. Don't draw it out. Just get to the meat and potatoes. And that is the thing that I really respect about State of Play. They jump in there, they tell you what you're getting, end of discussion. It's not a whole lot. If it's not a lot to show, it's not a lot to show. 15 minutes, people. That's what they gave us, and that was all we got. So, because they didn't have more than that to show. With Xbox, Inside Xbox, it seems like sometimes it can be drawn out a little bit, has a lot more production to it, and I respect that. But mostly people just want the information as fast as they can get it. So with that being said, what format do you prefer? If you would like to be a part of this conversation, you can always do it two different ways, either by calling in at 443-216-9934 or email the show, and the email is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Guys, I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell. I am so happy that you joined me this week for episode number 100. Good grief. Never thought I would have made it, brother. Never thought we would have made it, god dog it. But with that being said, before I get out of here, always remember, it's not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until we do it again next week, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.